guys, welcome to Module 5. We're working on the quadratic equation. Okay, so we use the quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations that sometimes may be a little harder to factor in the other ways that I showed you. The quadratic formula, if you look at the top of the slide here, first of all, you want to make sure your equation is in this form. You want to make sure it's equal to 0. If it's not, solve for 0. Bring everything over to the left-hand side. It should be in this form. Then, once you do that, you see how they have A, B, and C? Those are the numbers you're going to be using. If there's nothing in front of that X, then remember there's always a 1. If there's nothing, another number not written. So, take that A, B, and C and plug it into that formula. There's two examples here for you. One of the most important things you want to remember is if it's a negative, like for instance in the first example, that's a -7 for C. When you plug it into the formula, watch your signs. Make sure you plug it in with that -7. Now, when you get down and you're asking why is there a plus and a minus sign in this formula, and the reason is because a quadratic equation, if you remember, is a parabola, like a U shape, or it could be pointing down. Whoops, hold on, where are we at? There we are. All right, let me get this right. Okay, anyways, it's a U shape. Whether it's pointed up or pointed down, it's a U shape. It's going to have two answers, okay? 2 zeros. It's going to go through that x-axis, and it's going to touch two places. So you're going to have two answers, and that's why there's a plus and a minus there. Okay, so I like this slide because this example, it shows you how to label it. And this is what I want you to do, and this is how I do it, and this is how I want you to do it. When you solve it, if it's already in the solve for 0, then you're already a step ahead. You don't have to worry about doing anything now, just labeling it. A is going to be what's in front of your x term, which is 2. B is going to be that middle term, -4 in this case, and C in this case is your constant, the number by itself, which in this case is -30. Plug it into the formula. Watch your signs. I use parentheses in there, and you can kind of keep it separate instead of all them X's. I don't like that. Once you do that, down here at the bottom, what I wrote, it says solve what's under the radical sign first. It makes it a lot easier to work under that radical sign. It's like the order of operations, parentheses or grouping symbols. Work underneath that first, and then we're going to get down to the fourth step. You're going to get down to where you break it into two problems. That's why you have that plus and that minus. So where it says the square root of 256, we know that's a perfect square. Then you break it into that 4 plus or minus 16, because the square root of 256 is 16 divided by 4. And then that's when you break it into two separate problems and solve it, and you got your answer. Alright guys, things to remember. Make sure the equation is equal to 0. After that, label the equation A, B, and C. Then plug it into the formula. Begin to solve, working under the radical sign first. Once you've completed what is on the radical sign, find your two answers. Don't forget it's a quadratic equation, so it will create a parabola which has 2 zeros, which will give you two answers. Take care. Talk to you.